So this is not my first rodeo playing ARPGs. In fact, I have held quite a fond place for them over the years, but Path of Exile really gave me a shot. Now, I had logged in once, years ago, playing only about 8 minutes. I don't know why I didn't stick with it, but this time I wanted to give it the honest go, delving into the depths of one of the highest rated ARPGs to date. And to be honest, I had one of the wildest adventures yet. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and listen in if Path of Exile is the greatest MMO I never played. Hold up! I get it, technically it is an ARPG, but there's a lot of players in this game too, and look, if Lost Ark can call themselves an MMO, so can Path of Exile. Anyway, I'd also like to take a brief moment to thank all of my sponsors here on the channel and on Patreon. I would not be able to continue working towards my goal of becoming a full-time content creator. I could not do it without your support. If you guys are interested in joining the Caffeinated cult, that's kind of what I'm calling it, check out the description below for more information. Booting the game up for the first time, I'm immediately met with this screen. I have 3 choices: Standard, Affliction, or Hardcore Affliction. The Standard seems very simple. It is a basic game mode with both Hardcore and Ruthless options. Hardcore, of course, is just that, 1 life, but here in the standard mode, when your character dies, it just then migrates to a standard mode. You won't be able to tout the "I haven't died before, you incels" machismo that goes along with having a hardcore character. Ruthless, however, is unique. It simply says item scarcity and then asks you to go to a website to find out more information. Well, that's just not foreboding at all. Anyway, upon searching the website, this seems ruthless. The only real item upgrades come from random mob drops, and even at that, that is incredibly rare. You cannot craft as efficiently, and essentially looks like you put your character at a massive disadvantage when engaging with the enemies of the world. This seems awesome, however, I opted for learning the game's systems first before jumping into something a little bit more difficult. The next 2 panels are talking about challenge leagues. These seem to be like the fresh start seasons with some new affect or feature that looks pretty damn interesting. I opt for going for the normal affliction, where we must invade the Viridian Wildwood and cleanse it. I mean, little did I really realize that I'd be cleansing a lot of wood. Wait a minute! And that should not be misconstrued in any way. Okay, so now comes the pivotal moment, the choosing of my first class. I have 6 options sitting in front of me: Templar, Duelist, Witch, Shadow, Marauder, and Ranger. Honestly, looking at the Ranger, it kind of reminds me of Sonya Cage, not gonna lie. And I don't know why the Shadow is wearing black leather. Is that why he was exiled? I mean, after taking a few moments to look at all the choices, I basically am torn between the Ranger and the Templar. After reading the backstory, which is included on each of these classes, what could be a better story than a disgraced holy man in a toga outfit, redeeming the lost souls with fists of anger and holy light? Locked in, Caffeinated Dad the Templar, here we go. We enter what appears to be a shipwrecked beach with a dying exile trying to explain to me what the hell has happened. And then suddenly the body next to him springs to life and starts going to town on him like an all-you-can-eat buffet. I beat down the dead, and now here we go. So the initial impressions of the UI, this all seems very straightforward and very kind of reminiscent of Diablo a bit. Diablo kind of 3 and 4 mixed. Potion buttons, mouse buttons, hotkeys, and a mini map up in the top right. Personally, I like this. It's a clean setup. It's very simple. I can't tell you how often I see modern games try to be too unique by flooding their user interface with a whole bunch of add-ons, pop-ups, blah, blah, blah. Keep it simple. Just keep it simple, stupid. All right, so killing the zombies drops Glacial Hammer, which appears to be like a socket gem. After I place it in my mace, I now have the ability Glacial Hammer, an ability that freezes enemies in place while bashing them. I actually kind of like this setup because it seems like the skills automatically populate onto my bar without touching them. And also, while this was happening, I'm also given a tutorial pop-up of what is happening and what you need to do. This is a fantastic touch. I don't have to go to any outside sources. I'm just given the basics, and here we go. And I also do like that you could socket your items with the skills that you are going to be using, so that's a nice touch. I proceed to find every dead body on this beach and beat them down with my frozen mallet. I always find it funny in any intro to an MMO or even an ARPG here is usually a naked guy running around beating things with a stick. But this time it's a man of the cloth. And peace be with you. And with you. Ooh, extra pieces be with you. I find a shield and some random armor that looks ridiculously clunky on me, not gonna lie. I'm reminded of someone who grabbed armor and literally it just looks like a barrel. Anyway, after murking some zombies, I come across some butt crabs that shoot sand. I guess? I don't know. Maybe they were trying to be unique here. I don't know. I kill a couple of these and then I level up. Oh, hey, cool. New talent level up. Let's just select this. Okay, open this up. Oh my God. Look at all of these talent choices. Literally, there are hundreds of them and they all go into different directions. This is intense. Not only that, it seems like every level up only gives you one. That means that this could go on for like near ever. I picked the first one that I think looks good, which adds some damage and some extra mana, but woof. I'm taken away by the amount of options. So I go on and kill some more zombies and I fight my first boss that just seems like a bigger zombie. Pretty simple. Beat him down, except he heals and then yanks a sword out of his chest, which heals him more. By the light, this guy's a beast. He grabs a sword from his chest and it heals him. That's all right. That's pretty badass. It's pretty metal. Anyway, we go ahead and kill him and we are here in the first town, Lion's Eye Watch. There's a couple of random low-level players and a few high-level players, or at least what I can gather are high-level players because they have fancy skins. Anyway, I talked to this lady to sell some stuff, but it doesn't appear that there's any type of currency. It doesn't appear to be gold per se, or anything like that. Just scrolls of wisdom, which are also used to identify unidentified gear. Okay, that's simple, I suppose, but I can't really buy anything, so on we go. I grab a couple of quests here in the town and move out, and I'm ready to go. I also get a new skill called Smite. These skills being tied to the gems means you can customize any which way that you want for your own unique build. I mean, hell, did you see that talent tree? Good God, that's crazy. The customization here is going to be absolutely insane. And I can see that there being tons and tons of small niche builds that are just absolute killers. So I head up the coast, attacking a few more crabs amongst other critters and cannibals. Walking around, I equip a new skill gem called Purifying Flame. This shoots down a bolt onto the ground and consecrates the area, healing me for a short time. This is starting to become pretty cool because my Smite skill also grants me a shocking aura. Now I can throw Holy Light onto the ground, making it basically a defensive spot for me to stand on, while I'm bashing and shocking enemies all along the way.
Great success.
I mosey on down to Tribal Island to gather some medicine for the people of Lion's Eye's Watch, because of all the other people and players who were in town who were literally glowing angels of death. Yeah, they couldn't be bothered by it. Yeah, let's send the disgraced priest in a toga outfit to grab that shit up. Anyway, I get here and I fight this cool dude and I start taking some pretty serious damage, like a lot more than I thought. I actually have a fight on my hands here. He takes quite a bit to bring down, and then we grab up the chest. I go and collect my reward and they ask me to go out again to clear a fetid pool. So basically I'm their cleaning bitch, but anyway, I enter the mud flats and then this thing opens up, this massive hole in the ground. I have no idea what it looks like or what it is, but hey, I'm here. Let's jump down and start killing shit. I travel around here and I seem to be emanating like an aura that is causing all these little roaches to run away from me. I get a new power buff stat that seems to be collecting a bunch of these currencies, I guess, as I'm wandering through the wilderness area. After a while, I am teleported out and can no longer explore the Viridian Wildwood. In this short time, I do get a big old mallet. Now, I've assumed my role as a Retribution Paladin from World of Warcraft, just like every other MMO journey. I continue to fight random butt crabs and cannibals, which honestly is a statement I never really felt that I would say in conjunction, but I see this bar pop up and basically saying my Smite skill has now leveled up. It seems that as I am progressing through my experience bars, I'm also leveling up my skills autonomously. This is actually a really cool feature. So instead of forcing me to walk back to a skill trainer to level those skills up, they just kind of grow on their own. So I start postulating, thinking I'm kind of hot shit, and I stand 1 versus 1 against a boss level mob called Fire Fury. I was deleted in about 2 seconds. 2 seconds for this mob to kill me. I respawn and come back to take on this hothead, and we get through him, then another skill is ready to level up. pretty nice. I enter the mudflats, and now I'm faced with another Viridian Wildwood to wander around into the dark, and now it's starting to kind of make sense. This is the seasonal area. It seems like every time that I enter a new zone, there is a Wildwood for me to jump into and wander through, fighting different mobs and such, but it seems like there's different loot areas, and they are all randomly generated. I kind of like this seasonal affect thus far, considering that it provides a new way to engage with your Path of Exile experience, but it doesn't necessarily make it the only thing that you have to focus on during the seasons. I like this. This is pretty cool. In my travels through the mudflats, I find a weathered carving. Now, previously I would have to sit here and listen to this whole story if I wanted to catch up all of it, but it seems like now all I need to do is just click on the stone, and then it keeps playing for me as I continued on my journeys. It's like an audiobook for when you're slaying monsters with righteous fury.
The 100-meter ring surrounds St. Mark's.
As I am slaying these monsters, I have also found a few of these random glyphs that tell me that I need to gather all 3 of them and find a socket for them. Well, I find this socket at a random wall at the northern section of this map, revealing a new path of exploration, as well as a new waypoint. I don't know if this is story intentional, but it feels like this is just something that you discover as you were wandering. Honestly, I've loved this about Path of Exile thus far. It almost makes you rewarded for straying away from the main quest path. So I'm trudging through this extra moist cave, killing all sorts of weird tentacle creatures that for some reason sing like Mariah Carey. Actually, they're both tentacle monsters, so I guess they have that in common. Mariah, don't sue me. I roll through tons of these cavern waypoints, occasionally getting attacked by a random crab that forms out of the water, and then I'm face to face with the boss of this area, and it seems like his name is the Dweller of the Deep, a massive crab lobster that can freeze me. I share with him the holy word of our savior, and I am greeted with a quest turn-in. I have saved the town from crabs. What did he say? Probably a better way to word that. Anyway, I'm given a whole bunch of skill gems, and uniquely, the one I like is Frostblink, which is a short-range teleport that freezes enemies all along the way. That's pretty nifty. I finally get to the Fetid Pool, which was apparently the quest that I was supposed to do. You know, the place that I was supposed to, except I keep getting distracted by literally anything. I have one mission here. Excessive carnage and extreme prejudice. A few quick kills and I collect my reward, and now I'm tasked with something new. Travel to the Prisoner's Gate. Listening to some stories while I'm working my way through this ledge, fighting skelly boys, angry goats, and hungry homeless people, I encounter a living totem that is literally shooting electricity from its face. Aside from the boss just being an angry version of Aku Aku from Crash Bandicoot, this fight was actually pretty awesome. There was a few different skills and abilities that he used that I had to watch out and move out of the way for without getting clipped or taking any damage. This is actually pretty damn awesome, especially this early in the game to have a boss fight that has these certain mechanics. And I can see this evolving as the story progresses. I'm then faced with my favorite enemy in this entire game thus far, and is the most hilarious enemy that I've seen in a very long time. It's a literal skeleton torso tied to a wheel with a knife, and it's called a dread wheel. And it just fucking rolls at you trying to stab you. Holy crap. This was my favorite enemy. Oh my god, I love this damn game. This is it. That's what sold it for me. I'm one for unique theatrics and funny gameplay, but holy hell, this is just incredible. Anyway, throughout this time, I've started to run into a decent problem, and that is, of course, inventory space. Now, I understand I get tons and tons of loot in this game, and it's an action RPG, so there's going to be a lot of loot, and that is fine. However, the problem I am running into is how frequently I am getting tons of loot. Basically asking me to return to Lion's Eye like every 5 seconds to either sell it or to just leave it be. Now, I haven't seen anything to expand loot bags or even pay for the convenience in the cash shop, but this is just a mild inconvenience at this moment. As me being a new player, I'm still not 100% on what is good, what I should keep, and what I should trash. So this is just something I noticed. Anyway, I blow through this prison. I had literally no problem. Everything melts in front of me now that I have a potion of speed as my third potion slot that lets me charge around extra fast, and it seems to be on a decently short cooldown. Pairing this with the Frostblink ability is actually pretty nice. I was missing this extra movement speed that allowed me to clear zones and areas quicker. In this zone, I come across this little puzzle that has me solving the Trial of Ascendancy. Basically, I need to run through and not get stabbed by a bunch of these spikes, but there's 6 parts to complete this quest, I guess. This is another thing I've been enjoying thus far, is just exploring. There's like all these little hidden small areas that you're almost incentivized to check them all out and explore the randomly generated zones. Love it. I get to the top of the Slayer, and then I'm faced dealing with Brutus, the Lord Incarcerator, which looks like an average guy after he's had too many Miller Lights, honestly. I share with him the holy word of my Smite Frostblink combo, and he falls to prayer immediately, realizing the fault in his ways. I get a big new sword that is absolutely devastating foes, of course with a new skill, Absolution, that temporarily marks enemies for a time. When they are killed while still marked, they explode, summoning holy minions that deal damage and strike foes with lightning. Now I am a holy warrior that is summoning holier warriors to smite the wicked for not showing up to church on Sundays. This is starting to get pretty damn good. After exploring for a bit, I find myself in the middle of this cave belonging to Mervel the Siren. She seems unhappy with my presence there, so I'm going to spread the righteous word to her, of course. I meet the Siren and do my virtuous eyes see a near naked woman before me? How dare she tempt me with this unholy sin of the flesh?
Shame.
Well, it turns out that she was just actually an evil squid lady, and after bashing her with my holy mallet, she falters, and my Templar drops one of the coldest lines right after. Holy crap, listen to this.
A woman corrupted beyond humanity. I must cure this plague before it sickens all of God's creation.
I find myself in a new town, and with new quests and a few new NPCs, then realize that I have a stash, and I start using them immediately. I actually love this, honestly. I have a ton of storage here because I'm starting to understand the important items and the least important items, respectively, so I know what I can put in there and the other ones I can throw away. This is also pretty neat because then I can just store all my skill gems here, as well as other various loot without fear of losing it. So one of the new quests from the new town has me dealing with bandits. They tell me that they are causing issues by selling knockoff version of Celine Dion posters, and obviously this strikes me as an unholy abomination that must be dealt with brute holy force. So I confront the counterfeiter only to find out that he is simply surviving the concerns from other rival gangs. Also, his people have something wrong with them. They're all swaying in the same direction. Anyway, he sends me to kill Alira and bring me back proof of her death. Of course, removing the sinful from the world is part of my duties as a Holy Templar. So I take this as a chance to smite the wicked. She tells me that Creighton is the problem and will double cross, but thankfully I will not be swayed by evil lies. And then, good gracious, my Templar drops another super cold line.
You are thus blessed, daughter of God. He will show you what true friendship is.
I return to Creighton to see what he has to say against the blasphemous lines used against him, and he says that we can join power together. What power is there here if not the word of the light? So I remove the sinner from the equation, and actually this happens very fast. I actually kind of laugh here because I look like I'm running late to a toga party, but I hit like a Taco Bell Gordita Crunch when you're drunk at 2 in the morning. I find the last of this bandit trio in Oak. Now, I legit look at this guy and I say, you know what? He wants to bring peace to the world. He might actually be pretty good. It doesn't really seem like he wants any shade or concerns with the townsfolk or any issues. But much like the Inquisition, I do not need much provocation to start this dude's day the holy way.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
I dispatch him, and the Holy Bandit trio are gone for good. All for the benefit of a old man that I barely knew, and I only met him like 5 minutes ago. It is just now how I realized so many nations believed Emperor Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. I get an item from the quest guy who tells me that literally these 3 amulets fit together, and I briefly turned evil, so the normal thing is to keep it close in my inventory. Anyway, I progressed through a few more quests, and then in one of my Viridian Wildwood adventures, I find the Primal Huntress. This is like the first NPC that I've run into here where I can actually talk to her that doesn't want to unalive me? Well, it turns out that there are specific specializations that are brought together in the Wildwood. I can either be a warden, a warlock, or a primalist. Each have their own unique benefits, and it seems like the major tie is to the affliction season. This is actually pretty cool because it adds on to your main talent tree as a separate tree, all the while having separate skill points. So you don't have to worry about spending your talent points from leveling here in the Radiant Wildwood stat specialization. They're two separate things. That's pretty cool. This is fantastic as I immediately go for the one that gives me more inventory space. Anyway, I continue working on exploration and I find another trial of ascendancy in this zone and I swiftly solve it. No problem. I get to the bottom of the Chamber of Sin and I find an evil lady named Piety. Ironic. She seems evil. I don't know. She runs away like Skeletor, so I assume. Anyway, this lady stuck in a tree tells me that she was after the Baleful Gem, and after a short cryptid boss fight later, I find the Baleful Gem. This is actually insanely easy. I mean, like, I was expecting it to be a little bit more climactic, but anyway. I teleport back to town to get a few new rewards, and I'm just about the level, so I decided to also check out the Menagerie, which seems to be like random boss fight areas where you take on multiple high-level creatures to earn a reward. This is also something that's pretty neat, but it's almost like a passive, you don't have to think about it feature, as in your travels, you'll defeat the monsters and this trapper will come up and grab them and be like, "Good show, chap," and then just leave. It seems like you could just fight them for inventory items later. That's pretty neat. Well, I think I have a decent handle on the game, and honestly, here are my thoughts. So, starting out in Path of Exile, it is fairly straightforward. Lots of pop-ups that inform you what these things are as they are being introduced to you, explaining why they are important and why you should care. This is a feature that is repeated multiple times through my little playthrough here, and I absolutely loved it. The class options on the surface seem fairly basic, enough for me to get into it, but after looking at the skill gems as well as the talent tree, oh my damn, that is a ton of customization. If you are a theory crafter, you're gonna love this freaking game. Now, I did not flip any of my pathing choices around willy-nilly, as I imagine that as you are leveling these talent trees and then reorganizing them, it becomes increasingly either more expensive or more difficult. So I was trying to avoid doing that too early. But the sheer amount of choices across the many different build paths, skill improvements, it is kind of daunting, actually. There are tons and tons of options, and honestly, as I mentioned, Theory Crafter's Heaven right here, which is much more than what I believe a normal MMO would be offering, because good luck trying to balance all that noise. I did like that the combat felt very smooth between attacks and skill usage. At first, it was a little bit boring and slow, but that quickly ramped up the pace after only a few hours. Now, I also have multiple skills to watch with buff timers that need to be maintained in kind of an aggressive fashion. Not only that, the skill usage and damage really capture the good ARPG feel. Bashing multiple enemies with a single high damage hit and turning everyone into a fine red mist, that was fantastic. I did like that the world chat was fairly active and many people were talking about, well, various things that I had no idea about, but it's a good sign of life in a game for me. The main story was a bit difficult for me to follow up and start, as it doesn't really provide any major hook for me initially, but honestly, this is very much compensated by the desire to progress levels, to have different talent points to fill out, as well as the exploration of this game. After the first few quests, I start to see the resemblance of a story, which is honestly picking up with this girl Piety, and that is a good reason enough for me to keep wanting to play. Let's find out what this lady's trying to do, still gathering up our levels and progressing this way. Overall, the reason that this may all be daunting for new players is that it can be a lot to take in. Now, I can say this about a lot of modern video games, but Path of Exile at least made it bite-sized and explained things with pop-ups, graphics, and little GIFs showing you exactly what's happening and how to do these things. But between the skills, the talent tree, and the massive amount of items, and then add on the seasonal challenge in the Affliction, it could be providing a bit overwhelming for new players. Speaking of the Afflicted, I actually like this on the normal spin of Path of Exile. It's pretty cool. Now, granted, I didn't play the standard version of Path of Exile. I've only played this Affliction season, but I can kind of understand what these affects are doing and what we're doing as I have played through it. It is pretty cool that in each zone you visit the Wildwood and you go for a little fight through some monsters. You can get some extra loot, some extra bonus skill trees and added effects. I very much thought that it was a good addition to not only change up the gameplay, but also offer a new reason to start over. So for veteran players, I could see why this would be kind of fun. After putting this time in, realizing that Path of Exile, despite not being a perfect rendition of what an MMO is, has provided some really relaxing and simple bashing overpowered fun. As much as I like challenges in games and dealing with incredibly tough mobs or complicated rotations, I also occasionally like just logging in and slaying everyone, decimating the whole server. Something about unbridled carnage with absolutely no bars is just satisfying. I would like blink and then 2 hours of slaying glory had already passed. I've been impressed with Path of Exile, and it is one ARPG that I'm glad is free because it's pretty damn fun. If you want to see my most recent experience playing a new MMO, click this video here, as I've recently gone through my play of Lord of the Rings Online. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.